Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thanks.
Hey, Mashid, how you doing?
Good morning, Melissa. Good, good.
Hello. So everyone, it is 10:01. I'm not positive where Mark is. Maybe he's got caught up with something. Eric, do you want to lead the meeting? Do you want me to lead the meeting? Or do we want to
Yeah.
give them like a couple minutes?
It's 10:01. I guess we can just go ahead and get started, and then if he is available, he'll hop on. I'm sure we haven't heard from him, so I'm sure he's just caught up somewhere.
Yeah.
But we can get we'll get the points of order out of the way. So good morning, everybody. Eric Henry, your CTST program coordinator. Let's start with a round of introductions. Melissa, if you want to call names out.
Yep. So hey everybody, my name is Melissa Shepard with JMT. We are a District 7 safety consultant. And just to let everybody know, the meeting is being recorded. If you are not speaking, please mute your mics. All right, so I'm just going to go down order I see. So I have Brandy Howard.
Good morning and Happy New Year, everyone. I'm Brandy Howard with Suncoast Safety Council. We are the DUI program provider here in Pinellas.
Thank you. All right, and then we have Brenton Mosher.
I'm Brenton Mosher with USF Qatar.
Thank you. Ms. Cheryl Stacks.
Hi, good morning. Cheryl Stack, City of St. Petersburg Transportation Department.
Thank you. Richard.
Hi, this is Richard Taranto, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. I run most of grant programs, especially the ones for FDOT.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Jason. Jason Levy. All right, well, if you're on, can you just maybe type who you're with in the chat? Jim Hartwell.
Hi there, Jim Hartwell with Element Engineering Group.
Thank you, sir. Mashid.
Good morning, Mashid Roste, American Quality Consultants, FDOT Safety Ambassador.
Robin.
Good morning, everyone. I'm with Mothers Against Drunk Driving for West Central Florida.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Lori.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lori Palaio with JMT.
Thank you. John.
Good morning, John Rhea, Pinellas County Public Works.
Thank you. And Wesley.
Hi, it's Wes Casper. I'm the traffic sergeant for the City of Largo.
All right, awesome. And then Jason Levy wrote in to the chat that he is with St. Pete PD and his mic is not working, so he is on call. All right, and then if there's anyone else that I did not call your name, please feel free to introduce yourself to the group.
Nobody?
Yep. Think you're
All
good.
right. Thank you, Melissa. So we can go ahead and move into the approval of last minute's meeting. Melissa has them pulled up. They're also available online on our website. So if everybody could just take a moment to look those over, and then if we could get a motion to approve in a second.
I can move approval.
Thank you, Cheryl. Do we have a second?
I can second. This is Mashid.
Thank you, Mashid. With that, the minutes are approved. Thank you, everybody. We can go ahead and move into committee reports. So do we have anybody from enforcement on who has anything they'd like to talk about? I know we're short a few people today, but I know I heard some law enforcement folks on.
Yeah, this is Wes Casper with Largo PD. Yeah, not much going on. The ELEE grant is coming to an end. And other than that, kind of just getting through the holiday season. So we did a lot of DUI enforcement holiday details. We went out there and did some roadway audits with DOT, but not much else is going on.
Great, thank you, Wes. Do we have anybody else from law enforcement on?
not law enforcement, Eric, but I am aware that the St. Pete PD just did some enforcement, education and enforcement related to scooter users in downtown St. Pete, kind of trying to educate people as to the rules of the road for that effort. And I think they did stop a few people, issue a couple citations for sidewalk riding, double riding on the scooters, and a few other things. And I think they did that on the December 29th or so. So that is one of the things that they have been doing among other items. Lieutenant Levy may be able to put some information in the chat for us on those other things, but I was aware of that effort, and I thought it was kind of good and unique and interesting, bent on safety, because we did have a crash recently in St. Petersburg where a scooter user hit a pedestrian and the pedestrian suffered a fatal injury.
Awesome. That's really great. We just recently developed a new tip card through the Bike Ped Coalition related to those kind of micromobility devices. So maybe I can share that in the chat and let everyone take a look. It's not finalized, so there's room for comments if anybody sees anything. Jason Levy put in the chat that they're going to continue the scooter enforcement downtown, and that 21 NTAs were issued. Wow. Jim, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I was out with Clearwater PD on the 20th in support of their enforcement effort on the State Road 60. And also they did, Sheriff's Office did some enforcement on the Bayside Bridge. And I have some stats that were emailed from Clearwater Police Department. They had 67 citations, 62 warnings, 125 traffic stops, 4 arrests, 1 felony traffic arrest, a warrant, couple suspended driver's license, and 2 DUIs. They had a total between it was a multi-agency on both sides of the bridge and FHP, and they had a total amount of traffic stops of 399 with all the agencies, with a total of 187 citations and 212 warnings. It was a very productive day for them out there on the causeway.
Oh yeah, productive was the word I was going to use. Wow. All right, great deal. Let me pop this in the chat before I forget. Do we have anybody else from law enforcement?
Just to pick up on what Wes said, the ELE enforcement phase is coming to an end. The details will be, last details should be finished by the end of Saturday night, and then they'll have 2 weeks to submit their detail. So I will have final stats from the program by the next meeting, and then in March, the end of March, March 21st, we are going to have an enforcement awards ceremony where we will distribute the equipment that was earned throughout the ELE program.
Awesome. All right, good deal. Do we have anybody else? Is that everything for enforcement, or are we good to move on to engineering and bike ped? Hearing nobody, guess we'll go ahead and move on. Brenton, since you just went, do you want to start us out?
Sure. So as far as engineering for bike ped, we have not had too much going on in the last month, but we are gearing up for another round of driver's ed high school education. We have a couple more of the FDOT sponsored driver's ed tuition reimbursement for the teachers. And I believe the goal is to make sure that every high school in Pinellas County has an active driver's ed teacher by the end of the year. And then we have some, we'll be looking at other different outreach. We're just finishing up the 49th Street geofencing. So we will have those results at the next meeting also.
Thank you, Brenton. Does anybody does anybody else have anything on engineering or bike ped?
I can go next. As far as engineering goes, we did hear back from US DOT. We'd been waiting on them for the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program. And while we didn't get all of the funding that we had requested to do, kind of the capital improvements on 18th Avenue South and 22nd Street, we did get awarded some planning dollars. So we'll be updating our Complete Streets implementation plan in St. Petersburg. And it'll specifically include kind of a Vision Zero Safe Streets approach element to our Complete Streets implementation plan, which wasn't in there before. So it'll have a deep dive on crash analysis and those kinds of things. And that'll be a big focus on what we include when we update it. And so we're just waiting on US DOT now for an agreement to get those funds, but did want to update the group on that grant effort.
Awesome. I'm always happy to hear that some of that grant funding is coming to our district, so that's good news.
I'll jump in there too. For Pinellas County, I talked about the grant last meeting. I believe I misspoke. I think I said 3.5 million. But we did receive what we asked for, the 2.5 million for the Pinellas Impaired Pedestrian Bike Evaluation and Demonstration. Very exciting. This should be a novel project to hopefully bring down the pedestrian and bike deaths and forward towards Vision Zero. So excited for that.
All right, cool. Anybody else on engineering or bike ped? I guess I can go ahead and toss in. I mentioned this at our last CTST we had yesterday, but I want to kind of share this with each group individually. Some of you maybe have been trying to access CDMS and realize that you're not able to get in. That's an intentional through our side. Due to some changes in statutes, we've made the decision to limit CDMS to internal FDOT only. So from now on, we are encouraging folks who lost that access, if you don't already have Signal 4 access, to go ahead and request the Signal 4 account, seeing as that's going to be the official source of FDOT crash data going forward. So I just want to kind of get that out there. We've had some emails coming in with people questioning why their accounts aren't working anymore. So anybody else in engineering and bike pedestrian?
I just have a question for that.
Sure.
I don't want to fib on myself because I really like CDMS. I was using it this morning. If I still have access, am I gonna seeing how I'm county, or should I expect to lose that as well?
That's a great question. I think that we already purged the folks that we are going to purge, but I'll double check and make sure, because I thought what I was told was that it was going to be purely internal. So.
Okay, well maybe not. Maybe I'll fly under the radar.
So
I also like CDMS a little better. There's some functionality that CDMS has that Signal 4 hasn't gotten yet, which I really appreciate, but Signal 4 is getting there.
Yeah, they both have their advantages. So I do go back and forth, but it would stink to lose CDMS. So, all right, thank you.
this is Mahshid. From what I remember, there's a CDMS for Pinellas County, and there's a CDMS for FDOT. So, and the accesses are different, so that could be the reason. But
now that you say that, yes, that sounds correct, because I think we did actually have our own CDMS. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. Sorry.
You guys are part of the lucky few then. All right, we can go ahead and move on to education and emergency services, if anybody has anything on that front. Anybody have any events or anything coming up? Tabling? I know we have some events that we're participating at HCC coming up. I don't have our list of events pulled up, but I know it's the new year, so things are kind of getting off to a sluggish start. People just coming back to work this week.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving is going to participate in a 5K event in St. Pete with Community Health, just as a vendor for a tabling event in February. I believe it's February 3rd.
Oh, cool.
But we just are up and coming, like you just said. So a little slow right now, and then lots of presentations coming up, driver's ed, school, and then working on our tabling events.
Great. Anybody else on education or EMS? All right, I guess we can go ahead and move on to old business. We could pull up the problem location sheet. The passing school bus issue. We had Deputy Miller and Joe Camara assigned to that. Does anybody have any update on that front? Where were we? Did we have a standing, somebody looking into something, or do we have a standing action item on this? Or is this just kind of something up in the air, more of a general problem?
From what I recall, Eric, this was a general problem, and Mark just said keep it on here because I think he knew with the holidays coming up and people keep bringing up different locations that need to be looked at. So the deputies go out and look at them. So
yeah, okay.
that's
Well,
what
we can leave it as is then, unless anybody has any update. Hopefully the cameras on the school buses can help resolve that a little bit. So with no update, we can move on to the next item, which is the light at Tarpon Mall. See, does anybody have any update on that? I believe it is still under construction. I haven't been out that way to confirm. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess if nobody has any update, if nobody's had a chance to go out there and see if they're still working on it, same thing, we can just bump it to the next meeting. Stay posted for any updates. The signal at Starkey Road North at Willow Avenue. This came from Pinellas County School Board and Joe. I think this is another one that's still under construction, right? We're just waiting for construction to finish up there. Again, I haven't been by there at all lately, so I'm not sure what the status is of that. So barring any update anybody might have. Hearing none, we can go ahead and move on. We're getting through these quick today, guys. Easy. Okay, that's all of them. Awesome. So next up, we have the HSIP and Safe Routes to School project update. Mashid, if you want to take us away.
Good morning again. So as you know, the new HSIP portal is up and running, and cities and counties have been submitting applications. Recently, City of St. Pete has been applying for zipper-style bike lane delineators, and it's under review. And we're happy that Cheryl Stacks, City's transportation manager, has a short presentation on that for us. Cheryl.
All right, and now I'm unmuted, right? Okay, there we go. All right, can you see my screen now? Great.
Yes.
Okay, good. Gotcha. So we developed this project for the Highway Safety Improvement Program, and just want to give you a little overview of what the project entails. So the project is located along First Avenue North, generally from 20th Street to 28th Street in St. Petersburg along an existing bike lane. The project addresses safety for vulnerable road users, and it enhances a recently modified bike lane. So when we made changes to First Avenue North to introduce the Sunrunner BRT project, we had to change the cross-section and configuration of the street. And we removed the parking on the north side of the avenue and created a buffered bike lane. There had been a narrow bike lane there before. We added a striped 2-foot buffer and removed the parking that people were used to using. We had to make those changes based on, we needed to widen at least one lane for the bus. So we worked that out with the community and implemented that associated with the Sunrunner project, which opened in 2022. Looking at a crash history for the project location, 5-year crash history, no fatal crashes, which is good news, 5 severe crashes, 2 crashes involving bicyclists, and 1 that appeared to be correctable based on these proposed modifications. And so really what we'll be looking at doing is these are called Zipper. It's made by a company called Zikla. They're now on the FDOT's approved products list. And they're modular prefabricated devices that you can install in narrow buffers to kind of provide a little bit of a vertical element to protect the bicyclists and the bike lane a little bit more. We've seen some drivers, errant drivers, they'll sometimes go into the bike lane. People will sometimes inappropriately park in the bike lane on First Avenue. And with the roadway configuration the way that it is now, because we've reduced from 3 general purpose lanes to 2 general purpose lanes, there's actually more traffic that's immediately adjacent to the bike lane now. So it's important to us to try and add that level of safety and comfort. So this is basically what the project is. Now, this is an illustration from the vendor. And we would put these in where the buffer line is solid. So on the approaches to the intersections, generally there's the white lines are skipped to allow for bicyclists to either to move out of the bike lane or for people to kind of cross over the bike lane to make their turns at the intersections. But these would go in the solid sections where we wouldn't expect people to need to move in or out of the bike lane, right? That's why it's a solid white line. And these would provide, basically it's kind of establishing a new curb line for the motorists. You can see, I don't know if you can see that the profile here is much like a regular curb on the side that faces the motorists. And it's an angled curb right here next to the bicyclist. So they're not going to run and hit something. They're not going to have their pedal hit the curb when they're doing a downstroke. So it's a great product and we think a great solution. So FDOT has used this very recently. This is a picture from Oak Ridge Avenue. It's out in Daytona Beach. They installed these in a bike lane out that way, and that's kind of what it looks like there. And then this is First Avenue North along the project corridor. So you can see the bike lane here on the right, the existing buffer, and then the 2 general purpose lanes, and then this is the bus lane, and we kept parking on the other side here. So you can imagine that basically what we would do is we would just add those zippers right in here where we have the solid white lines for the bike lane. So as far as the project funding strategy goes, we have our as-built from the resurfacing project. We would use this as a starting off point. In fact, we already have to kind of sketch out where the devices would go and develop a typical. We feel like that's going to be pretty inexpensive for us to do. We would do that in kind for about $5,000. Our request to FDOT was for $35,000, and we understand that there's a limitation associated with procuring this product. So we picked the segment from 20th to 28th, thinking that we'd probably be able to cover it enough with that $35,000 worth of product, but we're still working on trying to identify a unit cost and to kind of nail down those specifics. And then the installation would be done by city staff, by our traffic operations staff. And I expect that would probably be on the order of about $10,000 to $15,000, depending on how long it takes them to do that. And, the MOT that's required for them, because they are going to probably need to close 1 lane when they do it. So we'll have to figure out those details. But the idea is that we could hopefully get this installed in pretty short order once we have the product. So that really is kind of the project and the concept. And then here's my information if you guys need anything else, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the project, the product, or anything you might have.
Thank you, Cheryl. That's all I have on HSIP, Eric.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mashid. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, everybody. I think that should be all that we have for that. But the portal is still open. We're still accepting applications. There is still HSIP funding available. So if you're looking at that and you think that looks great, it could be you. So get your applications in. Lori, if we want to move on to the high crash intersections and the fatal crash map.
I don't discuss the ones for Pinellas. I think that's done through Forward Pinellas, but
Yeah, so I will say this, they sent a map over, and I don't mean to interrupt you, Lori. They sent a map over shortly after our last meeting. So this one isn't as up to date, but this is the most recent map that I have from Forward Pinellas. We can discuss this. This is as of December 8th. See if I can zoom in here. So it's a little different than what we've seen in the past, but it does show all these traffic fatalities throughout Pinellas. And then let's see. Here are these sheets that Mark usually goes over that discusses the crashes in detail. And then this might be a better graph. So comparatively speaking, we've got the 2022 year versus the 2023 year. You can see, I would say the purple, the motorcycle went down by 10%, which is great. Unfortunately, PEDs went up by 12%. So I would say those are the two drastic.
Yeah, I think that pretty closely reflects the kind of overall district trend that we've been seeing as well. Just looking at some of the data towards the end of the year there, I think it's broken. It breaks down a little bit on the for some of the smaller counties, Hernando and Pasco in particular, but I think we've seen district-wide the same thing, a reduction in motorcycle fatalities, but kind of that ticking back up in terms of our bike ped crashes. So that's something we're looking at going into the new year. All right.
Cool.
Well,
The
does anybody
total
have
overall,
any?
the total overall number looked like it was down though, so that was good news. I mean, everything's down but pedestrian. So that, I mean, you know, from a sheer numbers perspective, that seems like good news.
Yeah.
I mean, if not just like from the percentages, but in the bar chart, I mean, bicyclists are nearly half, motorcyclists is more than half, peds are up a tiny bit, and then vehicles down a little bit too. So I mean, the overall numbers seem like a good news item that it's
Yeah,
overall
absolutely.
it's down a bit.
I have this pulled up. We're just looking at this in terms of overall fatalities. First of the year to last of the year, 2022 versus 23. Pinellas specifically was down over 18%. So we are seeing pretty good reduction. And district-wide, we saw over 8% reduction in fatalities. So it is ticking downward. And it's more than comparing it to 2021, which was, as we all know, a very, very high year. The numbers are even better than that. So we are ticking in the right direction overall, thankfully. So something we're doing is working.
Yes.
Alrighty. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to add onto this? Hearing nothing, we can move on to new business. It's an open forum if anybody has any new problem locations they'd like to suggest or anything else that they would like to discuss while we are all here. Now's the time to do so. Melissa, you got your hand up.
Yes. All right, so I have two items to discuss with you guys, and then I'm gonna put the links in the chat. So it is concept paper season, and I'm showing you guys here. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. It is the gear up for the 402 subgrants for DOT. So come down here, I'll put this in the link, but right now concept papers are being submitted. And this is again for subgrants. It takes a while for it to be approved, reviewed and approved, and then the cycle of funding comes out later in September, August. But this funding is for local agencies, law enforcement agencies, certain qualified nonprofit organizations like MAD and whatnot. And then it goes, this website is very helpful. It goes in and it talks about different concept papers. And if you go down to the bottom of the concept paper area, it does go into sample concept papers that have been successful. So you can look at those if you are needing to write a concept paper for a sub-grant. I know we went over this yesterday with the university, CTST. Eric, do you have anything else you want to add to the sub-grant area?
Yeah, just if you're submitting, make sure you get that concept paper in. Last day of February is the final day to submit on those.
Yeah. So let me put this link for you guys in the chat. And then I have another item to discuss. It is the Safe Streets for All Road Users grant program. I know Cheryl mentioned that she went after a grant and was successful. And I believe John with Pinellas County said that they went after one also. The next time frame to submit your application is expected to open in February. We do not have a date, an official date as of yet, but it is coming. And I'll put the link in the chat for you guys for that as well. And just in case you guys aren't familiar with what the Safe Streets for All grant is about, it's a discretionary program established through the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It is $5 billion appropriated over 5 years. So it started in 2022 and it'll go through 2026. These funds are regional, local, and for tribal initiatives, and it is to improve safety and help prevent roadway deaths and serious injuries. These funds help tackle preventable deaths on the nation's roads through safer people, roads, vehicles, and appropriate speeds and improved post-crash care. So who is eligible? Who is eligible for these funds? Cities, counties, towns, transit agencies, other special districts, NPOs, federally recognized tribal organizations. Who is not eligible? State level agencies, i.e. FDOT. So like several of the counties and cities have spoken about, there's 2 different avenues that you can submit grants for. The planning and demonstration part, which is, do you have an action plan? And then the actual implementation grant, which is, are you ready to implement your action plan? So what we're going to do is we're going to help FDOT or assist FDOT with issuing several e-blasts discussing the types of Safe Streets for All grants and how we can assist you with this process. So the e-blasts that we're going to send out is going to have links in there and examples of how to apply for these grants, to help you guys out with funding. And like I mentioned, or like Cheryl mentioned, she's pursued these grants, and I believe Pinellas County has as well. So again, we're going to be pushing some e-blasts out here soon in preparation for that release date, and hopefully it will, assist anybody that is pursuing these grants, just to help with extra funding for your local areas.
For the smaller local jurisdictions, I know Fort Pinellas has been assisting. They had gotten some Safe Streets money to do some corridor safety studies that we've been working on them with. And so I think their intent was to also maybe kind of shepherd it through to implementation for those different projects. But for smaller local jurisdictions who may not have the staff capacity to apply for it on their own, I would recommend that you reach out to Fort Pinellas because they could be helpful in helping you craft an application.
All right, awesome. Thanks, Cheryl.
All right, thank you for that, Melissa.
Yep. Thanks.
Does anybody else have anything they'd like to speak about? Jim?
Yeah, the roundabout at Alt 19 and Florida Avenue, the RRFB sign on the northeast corner, I think it's been knocked down 2, maybe 3 times. It's currently down, has been for a few weeks. I know that George Edmiston had I guess got some either some 3M tape or bright sticks that were going to be placed on the poles. Have not seen them yet. I do have, now that the holidays are over, I'm going to send, I spoke with Lieutenant Wilmoth from FHP to try and find out the most recent crash, if it was reported, what was the nature and reason why. But for some reason that sign there continues to get hit. So I don't know what is going to be the solution. But obviously when that happens, it puts the pedestrians trying to cross at risk there. So we might not, maybe together we can try and figure out what might be the best solution to take care of that.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I know I saw that email come through recently with that. It's been knocked down like 2 or 3 times now, right?
What was the location
Which
on that
is-
again, Jim? I'm sorry.
It's Alt 19 and Florida Avenue, Palm Harbor, though, the new roundabout.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Did they
We-
finish, did they finish construction on that yet, or is the contractor still out there working and doing stuff?
It's completed.
Okay.
You know, the last thing they did was come and add lighting. I mean, it's well lit, but for some reason, whether it be the angle, I don't know if it's trucks turning north from westbound Florida Avenue that are, you know, grabbing that sign as they make their turn from delivering at restaurants or whatever, or if it's vehicles not negotiating the roundabout correctly. I don't know the facts on that.
Got it. Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if they were still out there working. It might explain some of it, or they maybe could stick a barrel out in front of it or something like that. But yeah, if it's already basically done, then it's a different remedy. So
Yeah, and that is something that has been talked about. I'm not sure if they've come up with a game plan to address that yet. Another suggestion that made sense to me is people trailering boats through there. Haven't really learned how to navigate the roundabout yet. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
Certainly.
Yeah, looking at it now, that's the 3rd time that it's been taken down within a short period. So I think their plan right now is to bag the other RFB while they look at what the cause is and whether relocation is a good idea. I will follow up with Pinellas Ops and see if they have any update on that. And maybe at the next meeting, we can bring that up, or Jim, I can get back to you and let you know the status on that.
That sounds great.
All right, good deal. Yeah, I thought people trailing their boats was my thought exactly. I'm betting that's what it's going to be. Okay, any other new business? Anything anybody would like to discuss? All right, if nobody has anything else, our next meeting will be the 1st of next month, virtually here via Teams. So we can go ahead and adjourn for the day, give everybody 20 minutes back. Have a good rest of your week, y'all. Happy New Year to everybody.
Happy New Year.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy
Take
New
care,
Year.
y'all.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, guys.